Hi there, and welcome to the Healthy Church Staff Podcast. My name is Todd Rhoades, and one of the co-founders over at chemistrystaffing.com, and so happy that you've joined us here today. We're in the middle of a series we're calling the 10 Commandments for Church Staff. Today is commandment number 4. If you missed the first 3, go ahead and subscribe, and you can go back and listen to those. But so far, we've looked at commandment number 1 was do for others. Number 2 was practice humility. Commandment number 3 was prioritize love. Today we're going to talk about walking in integrity and how important that is. But just a little bit of an overview on these commandments. First of all, these are not meant to be burdensome. They are not a set of legalistic rules. These are 10 things that I've put together from my last 30 years of ministry that I've learned that have helped me to stay on the right path, and I wanted to share those with you. If you put these into practice in your own life and in your own ministry, hopefully what you're going to end up with is better, more healthy work-life balance. You're going to be able to avoid some burnout. And it's also going to keep the guardrails on in some of these areas of ethical lapses and moral problems that we see every day happening in the church. And one of those, a lot of that has to do with integrity, which is what we're going to talk about today. Commandment number 4. Walk in integrity. And all of these commandments, of course, hopefully, come from a biblical standpoint. The King James Version in Proverbs 10:9 says, "He that walketh uprightly walketh surely, but he that perverteth his ways shall be known." And I love the way Eugene Peterson writes this verse in the Message. He said, "Our honesty lives confident and carefree, but shifty is sure to be exposed." Now, if you've been in ministry very long, I'm sure that you've never met anyone that works at a church that you would consider shifty, right? I have. I've met a lot of people that I've considered, maybe I wouldn't have said the word shifty, but that's a pretty good word. That's a pretty good word. Today we're talking about how to walk in integrity, and I'm telling you, integrity. If you're a plumber and you don't have integrity, maybe not so big of a deal. You can fix people's pipes and their toilets don't back up, and you can go and lie to the next person. But when you're in church work, integrity that's why it's one of the commandments. It is so stinking important, okay? So we're going to talk about integrity. Let's define it first, okay? From a biblical perspective, here are the key points that I want to talk about when it comes to integrity. It means being honest. It means being trustworthy. Okay, so honest and trustworthy, we can get that. The third one, though, is being consistent in all areas of life. Ouch, that hurts. That's a little bit more difficult. So being honest, being trustworthy, and being consistent in all areas of life. In ministry, this is so important. Integrity in ministry is what builds trust. Trust with your team, trust with your volunteers, trust with your congregation. It is really the backbone. Integrity is the backbone of a healthy ministry, and it mirrors the character of God, okay? So some consequences when there's a lack of integrity. We've already talked about trust. If there's a lack of integrity, there's all different kinds of breaches of integrity. There's huge breaches, double life, moral failure, sexual impurity. Those kind of things are like, yeah, that's a lack of integrity, but it's also the little things. It's fudging on a report, or maybe not telling your board the whole story. You're only telling them half of the story. Those issues, there are all different kinds of issues of integrity from small to large, but the small are just as important as the large in many times when it comes to trust, okay? So if there's a lack of integrity on your part, there's going to be a lack of trust. There's also going to be damage to your reputation. And unfortunately, this is why church work is so important, and your role is so important, and integrity is so important. There's potential harm to the church community. How many times have we seen let's take the extreme, let's take a moral failure and a public scandal that has absolutely damaged the trust of the leader. It's damaged the reputation. But it didn't just affect the leader. It didn't just affect the family. It affected the whole church community. And it's sad, but that's how important integrity is. All right, so let's look at if you're looking to, in your ministry today and for the next, until you die or retire from ministry, what are some things, some practical ways that you can walk in integrity? Okay, first is being honest in all interactions. That means just what it says, being honest, right? Don't shade the truth. Don't be shady, as we said. Don't tell half the story. Be honest in all your interactions. Don't hide things that don't need to be hidden just to make yourself look better, okay? So be honest. Keep your promises. Keep your commitments. That's part of integrity. You need to constantly be demonstrating the consistency between not only what you say, but what you do. You got to walk the walk and make decisions based on biblical principles, even when it's challenging. You know what you need to do. You got to do it. That's part of integrity. If we've been sharing some red flags here, here's some red flags that may indicate that your integrity might be lacking. Are you inconsistent in your behavior? Are you dishonest? Are you unreliable? Do you not follow through with what you do? Do you make decisions that contradict biblical values? These are all issues of integrity. Folks, I'm telling you, integrity is huge. Once your trust has been damaged, once your integrity has been questioned, it is very difficult for you to lead in a church or in your church. So my admonition to you is, if you find that there are areas where you cut corners when it comes to integrity, man, this podcast could be a warning sign for you not to do that. It will catch up with you. I think the scripture says that what is hidden will be shouted from the rooftops, and you don't want that. I'm telling you, you don't want that. I've seen it happen too many times. Integrity is a very important way to make sure that what gets screamed from the rooftops does not damage you, doesn't damage your family, doesn't damage your church. Okay, join us tomorrow. Tomorrow we're going to continue on with commandment number 5. We're going to talk tomorrow about wisdom. You won't want to miss it. I'll see you there. If you like this podcast, make sure you subscribe. Leave us a comment. If you got a question you'd like answered on this podcast, you can always send an email to podcast@chemistrystaffing.com. Podcast@chemistrystaffing.com. We'll be taking some episodes in the future and answering some of your questions as well. All right, we'll talk to you tomorrow.